Hello guys, now let's talk about the French defense and this opening was named after the French players among which it was very popular in the beginning of the 19th century. Uh, Actually this game was first employed in 1834 telegraph game played in London and Paris. And the French team employed this opening and scored a victory. So this is the French defense opening move, and let's see the Winawer variation in the French defense. And now after d5, now knight c3, bishop to b4 and e5, now c5, now a3, bishop takes c3, b takes c3. One of the most principled variations in the French defense. After an exchange on c3, both sides get their trumps. White obtains a pair of bishops, but at the same time, black weakens the white pawn chain. Practice has elaborated several typical plans and methods for both sides, and here after knight to after knight can be played here, and after knight to f6, knight to e7 and knight to f3. Now after queen to a5, bishop to d2. Now if at all black plays c4 in this position, c4 and introduction to the queenside blockade. The only drawback of the move c4 is releasing of the tension in the center, which would free white's hands on the king side. Now a4, knight to d7, bishop to e2, knight to b6, short castle, knight takes a4, knight h4, knight to g6, here actually white played the a4 move because he doesn't want to play black to play queen a4. And now after the exchange of the knights, the h7 pawn has moved to g6, thus the f4 breakthrough has become almost impossible for white. So after rook to e1, bishop to d7 and bishop to f1, now b5, now queen to f3, rook to b8, rook eb1, queen c7, now bishop to c1, a5, bishop to a3 and rook b6, queen to g3, and here the rook b6 move, a typical method for black. Here actually black prepares to sacrifice an exchange which will allow him to advance his queenside pawns. So after queen g3, now queen to d8, now bishop to d6, now the rook exchanges it. After this, bishop to c6, h3, king to d7, rook to e1, queen to h4, queen e5, queen f6. Actually, black has the pawn majority on the queen side. After queen g3, now rook h4, rook to e3, and rook f4, bishop e2, queen h4, bishop to f3, now b4, and then now queen takes and rook takes, now g3, rook to h8, c takes b4, a takes b4, rook to b1, rook b8, and h4, rook b7, king to h2, king takes d6, now g4, now knight c3, and rook a1, knight to b5, and rook to d1, now rook a7, now h5, and then g5, closing the files, and now king g2, and rook to a2, and bishop to e2. So black sacrificed his exchange for the queen side pawn majority. So I'll meet you in the next video. Next part of the video, I will show some typical positions in the French defense. So thank you all guys.